So yesterday, Monday, Diddy celebrated his 55th birthday, but this year was a lot different. It was no Diddy parties. It was none of that. None of that stuff. Well, happily so, I guess, right now. But anyway, so this is his first birthday behind bars. Yeah, but so there's still, I mean, it's crazy too because there's still more happening in court. Like, I mean, everything is still active even though we're not hearing about it as much anymore. And the people may be fatigued like we talked about prior.
It felt almost electric. A tension so thick it wrapped around the city like fog before a storm. That kind of energy only brews when the stakes touch the sky and the personalities involved are nothing short of legends. Sean Diddy Combs, the icon turned empire builder, whose name once echoed with wealth, power, and untouchable status, stepped into the heart of downtown Manhattan's federal courthouse. Every single eye locked onto him. The man who once lit up red carpets and ruled stages now moved with a heavy gravity, a weight on his shoulders carved out by years of rumors, accusations, and silent suspicions finally roaring into the spotlight. Clad in the dull beige of a prison-issued jumpsuit, a cruel departure from his signature designer fit.
That they will be adding 2 defense attorneys. We only thought initially it was 1, but one thing that stood out to me when Mark Agnifilo was talking about this was he said that these defense attorneys are in the courtroom right now. I didn't see Mark Garagos in that courtroom, but what I did see is 2 defense attorneys that have been there when Brian Steele came on board, and those 2 defense attorneys were Nicole West.
His silvered hair and weary eyes told a story of time, consequence, and the price of fame. The glow that once surrounded him had dimmed, but it hadn't disappeared. Even stripped of his glamour, Diddy held the room. Every blink, every step, it screamed that this moment wasn't ordinary. It wasn't just a courtroom drama. It was Judgment Day. The accusations against him aren't just jaw-dropping, they're earthquake level. Allegations of calculated abuse, coercion, and the manipulation of those closest to him have taken Diddy from hip-hop royalty to the eye of one of the most volatile scandals in entertainment history. The federal indictment reads like the opening of a high-stakes thriller. But this is no Hollywood script. It's real, and it's far more sinister. The word freak-off has morphed into something bone-chilling. No longer a rumor, but a courtroom term used to describe events prosecutors say were intricately staged to satisfy Diddy's alleged cravings, all while trapping victims in an invisible cage of fear and psychological control. Inside the courtroom, the tension was unbearable. Reporters, analysts, and everyday citizens packed the gallery, their silence louder than any headline. The same question echoed in every mind. How did it come to this? How did a man who rose to power through charm, ambition, and cultural dominance end up here, surrounded by scandal, shadowed by whispers that now scream, and more importantly, what would his high-powered legal team, a squad known for courtroom warfare, unleash to tear down the government's narrative? When it came time for the allocution, Diddy rose. The judge, calm but firm, addressed him, confirming his mental state, laying out what was at stake. No theatrics, no emotion, just a slow unfolding of a man's reckoning. In earlier hearings, his inner circle was always there, benches filled by family and loyalists, his mother, Janice, his children, faces that stood like silent shields. But now, with trial just days away, their seats were vacant, empty, silent. Was this a tactical retreat from the media chaos, or a sign that the fortress around Diddy was starting to crack? If Diddy noticed their absence, he didn't show it. His face, a fortress of its own, unreadable but burning with something deeper. Then came the twist no one saw coming. He rejected the plea deal, a move that echoed through courtrooms and celebrity circles like a bomb going off. Diddy wasn't just fighting. He was gambling, rejecting leniency, refusing compromise, betting everything on the skill of his legal team to rip the government's case apart, piece by piece. The prosecution had laid its cards on the table. The offer was clear. Less time, a quieter exit, a chance to walk away without risking it all. But Diddy? He pushed the deal aside. This wasn't negotiation. It was defiance. He was gambling with everything: his freedom, his legacy, his future. And when the judge asked him, point blank, if he understood what was on the line, his answer came without a flinch. "Yes, I did." The words sliced through the tension like a blade. This wasn't about seeking mercy. This was about fighting. Fire with fire. This was war. Behind closed doors, speculation swirled. What was the game plan? What card was the defense about to play? At the center of it all, Mark Agnifilo, a legal heavyweight with a resume full of high-stakes victories. Known for defending controversial figures like Martin Shkreli and Keith Raniere, Agnifilo had built his career on doing the impossible, winning cases that looked like foregone conclusions. But even with his reputation, this case was a mountain. The prosecution's case had been years in the making. Every detail meticulously documented. Witnesses lined up. Alleged victims ready to testify under their real names. A bold move that screamed conviction. The evidence, the prosecutors claimed, was irrefutable. And yet, Agnifilo didn't blink. His strategy was slowly becoming clear. Diddy wasn't a monster. He was a misunderstood figure, wrapped in a lifestyle that was taboo but not criminal. The term swinger lifestyle had already made its way into pretrial motions, suggesting a provocative angle, that what happened wasn't coercion, but consensual, if unconventional, indulgence. It was risky, controversial, and it just might work. Legal. Experts watched closely, stunned by the defense's composure. Could they actually beat this? Was Diddy's legal team truly confident, or just bluffing with the highest stakes imaginable? After all, this wasn't just strategy. It was a life on the line. The difference between years behind bars and walking free came down to a single roll of the dice. And still, the courtroom wasn't done. As the day wore on, discussion shifted to the sensitive logistics ahead. With the evidence touching on deeply personal and explicit territory, the judge had decisions to make. One ruling stood out. Diddy would be allowed to wear non-prison attire during the trial. A small detail on paper, but symbolically monumental. No khaki jumpsuit. No handcuffs in view. Just Diddy, sharp as ever in tailored suits and polished shoes. The image of a mogul, not a man accused. It was a strategic play, a visual statement meant to anchor the defense's narrative. This wasn't a criminal. This was a businessman, a father, a misunderstood icon. But the courtroom tension wasn't limited to fashion choices. The prosecution raised alarms over possible gag order violations, citing a flurry of recent headlines and a high-profile documentary that had reignited public interest like a spark to gasoline. In response, Diddy's attorneys shot back hard, accusing the government of orchestrating a media campaign to bias the public before the first witness even took the stand. The air between both sides was electric, their exchanges razor-sharp. This wasn't just a legal case. It was a battle for the court of public opinion. And as this legal chess match intensified, another twist emerged. Rumors began circulating. Whispers of heavyweight legal reinforcements potentially joining Diddy's team. No confirmations, but names floated. Big names. The kind of attorneys who dominate headlines the moment they walk into a courtroom. Whether real or strategic misdirection, the speculation alone was enough to signal how seriously Diddy's camp was taking this fight. This wasn't just about defending a name, it was about crushing the opposition, piece by piece. But the greatest challenge still loomed: jury selection. In a case soaked in celebrity, controversy, and culture-shifting influence, how do you find 12 unbiased citizens? The man on trial wasn't just a chart-topping artist, he was a cultural institution. His reach extended into fashion, business, philanthropy. His legacy was woven into the American entertainment fabric. And yet, The court needed people who could look beyond the brand and judge the man. The judge announced an aggressive pace, questioning 50 prospective jurors a day, a reflection of just how urgent and delicate the task had become. But whether that process could truly produce an impartial jury remained one of the biggest questions hanging over the proceedings. Amid all of this, another bombshell surfaced: that documentary. While its full contents hadn't been discussed in court, it was enough to provoke clear frustration from the defense. One of the attorneys allegedly featured had previously spoken out in another doc, and now this second appearance had sparked courtroom outrage. The government didn't deny it, but the defense's irritation was unmistakable. Was this about justice or public influence? As the day wound down, the pressure in the room was suffocating. Each motion, each ruling, each whispered exchange carried the weight of a verdict not yet delivered. The trial hadn't even officially begun, but already the war was raging. And just when it seemed like the stakes had reached their peak, the drama took another turn. Behind the polished smiles and united front, something was cracking. Whispers of internal friction within Diddy's legal team began to swirl. Quiet, off-the-record comments, uneasy glances, tension behind closed doors. Was this the beginning of a collapse inside what was supposed to be an unshakable defense? Behind the sleek press conferences and carefully curated optics, a more unsettling picture was emerging. A defense team scrambling behind the scenes, struggling to keep pace with a wave of damning evidence and increasingly devastating testimony that threatened to dismantle Diddy's empire one thread at a time. And the judge, he wasn't playing. He reminded everyone, prosecutors, defense attorneys, witnesses, even the accuser's legal teams, that courtroom conduct wasn't optional. It was mandatory. One more misstep, one more media leak, and consequences would follow. The message was clear: control the chaos or the court will. Meanwhile, the government's strategy had shifted from aggressive to surgical. Rogan didn't see it as contradiction. He saw it for what it was: a bold move and a sign that the outrage machine might finally be breaking down. Newly unsealed documents revealed a trove of evidence the prosecution was preparing to unleash, not just paper trails and vague testimonies, but hours of surveillance footage, phone transcripts, and financial records. Together, they painted a story so vivid, so intricate that it was impossible to ignore. One piece of evidence in particular sent chills down the spine: internal messages between Diddy's close staff, casual in tone, but allegedly explosive in content. These weren't just offhand chats. Prosecutors argued they detailed the planning and logistics of the very events at the heart of this case. The implication? That this wasn't a solo act of misconduct, but a coordinated effort, one executed by a team of insiders all playing specific roles in a much darker operation, and when it comes to evidence mismanagement, Diddy's track record doesn't exactly inspire confidence. We're talking about a man previously caught with illegal firearms, altered serial numbers and all, which raised serious doubts about how carefully he and his circle handled anything, let alone something of this magnitude. Investigators anticipate a paper trail: flights paid for on American Express, hotel bookings, direct transfers from corporate accounts, receipts that speak volumes. What makes these communications even more damaging is the timeline. According to prosecutors, some of these messages date back years before the first public accusation. One allegedly shows a high-ranking associate warning others about unwanted attention and suggesting how to stay under the radar. That was months before federal raids began. If authenticated, these messages could completely destroy the narrative of innocence. And it gets worse. Some of the most incriminating messages, deleted, purposely scrubbed, the prosecution claims, once rumors of an investigation began to swirl. But it's 2025. Nothing is truly gone. Digital forensics teams managed to recover fragments, bits and pieces that, when stitched together, form a chilling mosaic of what might have been discussed. The defense is already preparing to challenge the validity of these recoveries. But if the jury believes messages were intentionally erased, that's obstruction. That's guilt in action. And it could shift the entire trial in the government's favor. Then there's the surveillance footage. Many of the alleged incidents took place in hotels with cameras, logs, and records. If those match the timeline laid out by accusers, it's game over for any claim of fabrication. Prosecutors are banking on that match, because when you're someone like Diddy, when your fame eclipses your privacy, people remember everything. They record, they document, they talk, and talk they will. While the prosecution hasn't officially revealed their full witness list, insiders hint it's a ticking time bomb. Former employees, business insiders, possibly even celebrities. And not just for drama. These individuals are reportedly ready to testify under oath about what they saw, what they knew, and how the machinery behind Diddy's empire truly worked. Some are expected to expose the financial structure that held it all together. The perks, hush money, and quiet contracts designed to buy silence and loyalty. If even a fraction of these witnesses deliver what's being promised, the government's case won't just be strong, it'll be undeniable. And some say the most explosive revelations haven't even hit the courtroom yet. Because what started as a trial about one man's alleged actions is now threatening to drag others into the spotlight, setting off a potential domino effect that could take down more than just Diddy. Associates, enablers, even fellow celebrities could soon find themselves entangled in the legal fallout. And as the trial looms, what once looked like confidence from the defense is now beginning to feel like a performance, a calculated front. Behind closed doors, sources say the cracks are showing. Conflicts over strategy have divided the legal team. Some want to go scorched earth, discredit every witness, challenge every piece of evidence. Others are urging caution, terrified that a misstep could alienate jurors and sink the case. The addition of new lawyers? It's raised eyebrows. Is it a bold move to bolster strength, or a sign of panic? Meanwhile, in the court of public opinion, the battle is just as fierce. Diddy's PR machine is in overdrive, releasing polished statements, touting his philanthropy, musical legacy, and role as a devoted father. But those efforts are clashing hard with the disturbing details now emerging in court. It's a tightrope. One misstep, and the whole image crumbles. And if that wasn't enough, the whispers have grown louder. There are tapes. Not just evidence, but videos. According to multiple sources, leaked tapes are already being quietly shopped around Hollywood. One insider claims they were even contacted directly about a clip allegedly taken inside Diddy's former Atlanta home, a clip in which the person filmed does not appear to know they're being recorded. If true, it's not just incriminating, it's explosive. And as for the judge, he's shown zero patience for games. He's denied delays, rejected attempts to suppress evidence, and made it clear this trial is happening. And it's happening now. Every ruling tightens the noose. With jury selection underway, the defense knows the clock is ticking. Fast. They're vetting every potential juror, trying to filter out bias. But in a world where Diddy's face has been on every screen and headline, can true impartiality even exist? 12 strangers. One verdict. The defense is gambling everything that they'll see past the headlines, past the fame, past the fear. And then there's the emotional toll. Diddy's public appearances have been rare, but when he does show, he looks different. Gone is the bombastic mogul who once ruled studios and stadiums. In his place, a man visibly weathered by the weight of what's at stake. Those close to him say he's aged, quiet, calculated, still defiant, but changed, And yet, now and then, that old fire flashes. A smirk in court. A sharp retort. A reminder, this is a man who's spent decades beating the odds, but this time, the stakes are higher than ever. This isn't just a trial, it's a reckoning, and when it's over, nothing will be the same. Because, as the evidence builds and the testimonies inch closer, one question looms larger than all the rest.